Let's wait till 7. There's people still coming in. Good evening, and thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I'd like to call the meeting of the Board of Commissioners business meeting to order. And with that, if we'll all stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There's some seats up front here, in the front. We won't call on you. Next on the agenda is the roll call. Deanna?
Liz McNaney, President.
Here.
Denise Hall, Vice President.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner.
Here.
Catherine Carter, Commissioner.
Here.
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
Here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager. Here. Lauren Gallagher, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Kessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
David Brill, Finance Director.
Here.
Dan Reeker, Zoning Officer.
Here.
Thank you, Deanna. Next on the agenda is item number 4 with the announcement of executive session. Solicitor Gallagher.
Thank you, President McNaney. The board met in executive session earlier this evening to discuss a matter of potential litigation.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the public comment and concerns. We ask that tonight, since there appears to be a lot of people here, maybe wanting to make some comments, we ask that when you come up, you please state your full name, address, including city and town where you live. We would also ask that you don't become repetitive with your comments that you want to make. We want to make sure that we give everybody a fair chance. And we will be using the 5-minute rule. So with that, I'll open it up for public comment. Sir?
There's some seats up front too, sir, in the back.
I beg your pardon?
There's just people still coming in, and I wanted to let them know there's seats up front, just in case they want to come around.
Nice to see you all again. Good evening. My name is Tom Martin, and I'm one of the owners of our family land on Broad Street and Allentown Road. Recent events have taught me that a single malicious rumor is enough to destroy a person's reputation for a lifetime of their achievements. So I feel it's important to express that everyone know facts about my family's history and our impact on this community. Here is our story. My father and uncle, Gus and Frank Martin, created a dairy business called Martin Century Farms here in Upper Gwynedd in the 1920s while they were still teenagers. They would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, milk cows, bottle the milk and deliver it before going to high school where my father was president of his class. They started with just 3 cows and 1 customer, the Tremont Hotel in Landsdale. Through hard work, they built a successful dairy business, 1 home delivery customer at a time, creating hundreds of good jobs in this community. And my brother and 9 sisters and I followed in that tradition, beginning when we were in our teens still, working inside, bottling milk, or outside driving delivery trucks. Helped by a series of folksy Gus and Frank radio commercials in which they actually portrayed themselves, the business grew until it became too large for a family business. It was sold in 1964, and we are no longer involved in it. But for my father and uncle, that was just the beginning of our their dedication to the community. Our Uncle Frank oversaw the rebuilding of Landsdale's Trinity Lutheran Church, created both the Landsdale Community Improvement Association and the North Wales Community Improvement Association. Landsdale's YMCA swimming pool and Muhlenberg College of Art Center are named for him. The North Penn Reporter referred to him as a man who put his money where his mouth is. He gave most of his wealth to our community. Our father, in turn, served as chairman of the Upper Gwynedd Police Commission, oversaw the restoration of Gwynedd Meeting, and acquired and restored the adjacent 1857 one-room schoolhouse. He and our mother helped create Folkways and served on its board. These were fine, hardworking, generous, honest people who love their community. They are no longer with us, but we all have benefited from their efforts. We must not forget them or insult their memories. And I gave part of my life to public service as well, first as a combat photographer in Vietnam, and then a career with the United Nations, UNICEF in Southeast Asia and Africa. There I worked at grassroots level to support the health and education of children and their families. But Upper Gwynedd has always been my home for 70 years. We've only moved recently in order to take care of my wife's elderly mother. Our conversations with the township about this land started years before, long before we moved. Let me be clear, my brother and I are not developers, but this is a prominent corner in high demand, and we certainly could have sold the land many times for a great deal of money. We have been respectful of the township's wishes. In previous conversations with the township, they had said that they did not want the corner developed as industrial land. So when we approached the township 4 years ago, it was to seek their input as to what the township wanted to see on our land. We did not have to do that. It was they who wanted open space, and I believe they who first suggested a balance of townhomes as a way to achieve it. We fully encourage the use of part of our land as open space or for whatever else the township wants. But we should not have to beg for our own land.
You have 1 minute.
And what I'd like to say, we greatly appreciate the support of our neighbors. They have recognized that condemnation can be an abusive law that has been used against any one of us. Condemnation should be the last resort, but in our case, it was the first and only choice made. Just the very threat of this condemnation handicaps both of us and the township for finding a solution. Here we stand today, the commissioner is considering land condemnation, as many residents continue to express their opposition to this idea. If you move forward with your plans, a land condemnation will mean the possible demolition of a beautiful home built in the 1890s. It would force the eviction of 2 families, one of which has lived in the home for 15 years. It would create a large reduction of the township's budget surplus, the safety net that we have built up over the years, leaving our community with minimal funds to respond to the next major storm in our area.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Your time is up. Anyone else?
I urge the commissioners, please do the right thing. Listen to our neighbors,
Thank you.
unless someone else wants to give me some of their time. Thank you.
We're just trying to be respectful of anybody that wants to talk this evening so that we can.
Good evening. My name is Frank Carney. While I live in Landsdale, I have many memories and grew up on the pond, fishing and ice skating. In the 1980s, my friends lived in this home. Great memories. 20 years ago, my friend Eric lived in this home. We made great memories. We made a movie there called A Halfway House Christmas, bringing Hollywood to this area. Now, memories alone are not the solution to this problem, nor is greed. Greed has been brought up, and there's a narrative that's sort of going around. I'm not saying it's from you, but a narrative that's created that's sort of presenting the homeowner, their family, 3 generations, built businesses, employed thousands of people, enriched tens of thousands of people over their lifetime. It's not about greed. It's his land. He wants a fair market value. Now, you have a lot of power on this board, and over the years, the board has instilled some of this power, and in some cases, that has devalued the land. Look at McKeever's. That property has sat vacant for, what, 15 years? And of course, it's to protect the building. But look what the outcome is. Now, the difference here I see is at the same time, you're putting restrictions on this land. And you can bring up restriction after restriction. And what it does is it paints the owner into a corner. It doesn't allow him to get the fair market value. But at the same time, you're coveting this property. You desire this property. You have plans for this property. So there does seem to be a conflict of an interest. If there's the judge would have to recuse himself. Now, I know there's been a lot of things said, and they're not all attributed to the board. But what I would like to, leave you with, and I'll be short, I think there's an easy solution. There's two ways to go. One is to fight this, and I told Tom I'd be happy to accommodate him to get the ACLU involved, because it does, to me, it feels like a violation of property rights. Whether you use eminent domain or you use restrictions and barriers created by the board, eliminating any chance of development. It's the same thing. You're restricting him. Not only that, I would actually ask him if we could go forward, if this got contentious, with a Freedom of Information Act. To me, it would be interesting to see the timeline, the communications, the texts, the emails, when and why and how these new provisions were put together. And if you look at both of them, you look at it, you're saying, okay, we're putting these restrictions in place. We're making it difficult. And at the same time, you're making plans to build a park. Here's the solution as I see it. The solution is to be fair. Let's, maybe not give him 100% of what he could get on the commercial or retail or light industrial sale. But imagine maybe a year or two from now, if you're fair in the coming weeks, this could be easily done. Get an amount, finance amount. Now, you might be in a position where you don't have that money in your budget. That's not Tom's problem. Why should Tom be penalized or punished for the success of the board? Why should he be penalized? And you deeply desired it. I get it. Now, at some point, there's going to be, if this goes well, there'll be a park opening. There'll be a plaque. I suggest make it go well. Give them a fair offer. If the people of North Wales want this, you may have to get grants. You may have to increase taxes. But don't take it out on the homeowner. If you give them a fair offering, imagine how happy this could be. 1 minute, I got you. Imagine how happy this could be. You have the grand opening, the ribbon cutting, your names are on the plaque, you're getting photos. Maybe name it Martin's Park. And the history that Tom just mentioned is really important. And it should be remembered what the Martin family did for this township. Thank you all, and have a good night.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm going to be really quick.
Okay. You have 5 minutes. You don't have to be quick. You got plenty of time.
May I give the remaining time to Tom?
No.
All right. Well, I lived in that house for 10 years. I said I was going to be short.
I'm sorry. Could you say your name and address,
Eric
please?
Moyer, I used to live in that house for 10 years.
Okay.
As Frank said, we produced a movie there. We produced a children's show there. I have so many memories there. It breaks my heart to see that house potentially be knocked down. Tom is one of the nicest, most kindest people I've ever met in my life. It just pains me to see him going through this and what you're doing to him. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. We have another one, and then you'll be next. Thank you.
Hi, Fred Hinken, 802 Clover Drive, North Wales. I just want to start off by confirming that the proposed purchase of the property would require the drawing down of township surplus or issuing a bond. Is that correct?
We'll be making a comment after public comment so
Thank
that
you.
we can answer all these questions.
So if the township draws down or sells a bond, did anyone here consider the impact of our township AA bond rating? If the rating were to fall, it would become more expensive to borrow money in the future. Do you have any plans to replenish these reserves if they are drawn down? Has anyone at the township completed an analysis of lost tax revenue, township, school, or county, taxes if the property were developed under its current zoning. That lost revenue plus the cost to purchase would be enormous over time. All I ever hear is the cost to purchase. No one ever mentions the lost opportunity cost of future revenue. Should this analysis have been part of the decision process? Finally, there was a recent social media post regarding that the 2005 Upper Gwynedd Open Space Committee was looking to preserve the Martin Tract for open space. The Republican commissioners at the time did not act on this recommendation due to the high cost to purchase the property. Besides the township already having hundreds of acres of open space accumulated over time that was obtained for little or no cost to the township. I also understand that there was about 400 responses from the township residents regarding the 2040 Upper Gwynedd Township comprehensive plan. And Ruth, I know we talked at the last meeting about how those responses, how people were asked to respond via, I guess, the website and
Open houses.
through the newsletter and so forth. My only comment to that is I think there's a better way for all of us to have a way to communicate to the board back and forth instead of click on the website. There's got to be better ways for people to be able to have input toward things like this comprehensive plan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes?
Hi, I'm Susan Locke. Maybe I'm just clueless, but why do you need this property? Maybe I should be familiar with this problem, but I'm not, except that I got information pertaining to this. That's why I'm here tonight. So can you respond to why do you think you need this property? And I thought condemnation was so similar to eminent domain, I think. And I thought that was when you absolutely need an area for a road or a bridge. Why do we have to have this property? And why can't it be bought properly? Can I get a response during my 5 minutes?
No, we're going to be taking all the comments, and then we'll be addressing them
Oh,
all.
okay.
Yeah, at the end.
That's all. Like I say, I'm unfamiliar with this problem, but I thought eminent domain or condemnation was when you absolutely need a property. I can't imagine somebody coming up to me and say, "We're taking your house. Hey, and this is what we're giving you." It just boggles my mind.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh. Yes, she was first, and then the gentleman can come.
Hi, my name is Kathy Pearson, and kind of a little bit similar to the last woman. I don't know the whole background, and I do feel for the property owners, but I am concerned about further development of that area, and I don't want to see, 100 or more townhouses. I don't want to see it. As you all know, I've been here before pushing back when people want to rezone, and I do want to understand what's planned there because of, I think we have enough density here and traffic issues, but I do want to be fair to the property owners as well.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is G. Jonathan West, 328 Royal Avenue, North Wales. I'm here to voice my support for preserving open spaces and protecting natural resources in our community. At this point, we need to face the fact that Upper Gwynedd is built out and that we need to focus on conserving what open spaces we have left instead of continuing to pack our township with high-density townhouses, especially if these proposed developments are not permitted under long-standing zoning codes. Upper Gwynedd's recently adopted comprehensive plan spells out our community vision to, quote, preserve and enhance the township's natural resources, including streams, floodplains, riparian buffers, and wooded areas. Of these natural resources mentioned, it appears that the tract of land in question contains all four, presenting our community with a unique and possibly last opportunity to preserve and enhance our ever-dwindling open spaces and natural resources. While I respect the property owner's right to benefit from his land and get a fair market value, in my opinion, developing this land with high-density residential units would continue a trend of leaving future generations with a high-density residential wasteland snarled by traffic and floodwaters. On the other hand, the whole Upper Gwynedd community for generations to come stands to benefit from having open spaces, nature trails, picnic areas, and a healthy, vibrant environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think we'll take this gentleman here in the back. You, yes, and then we'll go with the gentleman in the Penn State shirt, and then then the lady in the back will be 3, and then the gentleman in the front, 4.
My name's Glenn Hatfield. I live at 1468 Kathy's Lane in the Township. I'm going to change the topic a little bit. I want to make 2 statements regarding things that have come before the commissioners. One is the tone and clarity of the board as we work on problems together in the community. It's critical that as a local government that we are cooperative with all residents so we can get the best results for all. The second thing I'm going to talk about is the 2040 comprehensive plan as it relates to sidewalks. With regard to the board's clarity on issues, the first section actually is from the 10/11/21 meeting, and it really does focus a little bit on Ms. McNaney, although I'm not going to attack you, I assure you that. My point is, I think we need to work together a little bit better. One of the things that happened during that conversation, that last part of your conversation, was you really attacked Mr. Borneman and the Upper Gwynedd Republican Committee, of which I'm a part. I think it's very important that the way you speak actually invites people to bring issues in front of you, talk about it, discuss it, even if we disagree on the issues or from a different political party. Again, I think it's important that you make sure that you're presenting your actions, the chronologically accurate events in context, and use language that's not going to misrepresent things to the public. I said I wouldn't personally attack anybody, and I certainly won't, but I do want to give an illustration of what I'm talking about so you can understand what my expectations are for public discourse. At that meeting, Ms. McNaney said that there were residents were being misled with regard to her plan for sidewalks in and around the township. She said that the areas of Marybrook Development, Park Road, et cetera, did not have sidewalks proposed in their 2040 plan. That is simply not accurate, and I believe that misleads the public from my opinion. Those streets and many other are listed on not only the plan, on the map that prioritizes where those sidewalks will go in. And again, where I work, quite frankly, we don't prioritize something in a plan unless we're going to actually execute the plan. So I believe that is part of the plan. I would have other examples I'd be happy to share with you, but my real point is that, again, I think local government needs to work really well together across party lines, across everybody, and invite conversation so that we can work together well. The second topic actually is about the actual sidewalks. And again, it's my understanding, I've lived in the township my entire life, so I know a lot of people too. We had the commissioners and some of their supporters are out saying things like, we have no plans to install sidewalks. Republicans are out campaigning on lies. Republicans are misinforming people. And FYI, I've even heard a rumor that some of the commissioners are saying that even if we're going to put in sidewalks and can't get grants, which is what's been talked about a little bit, that we'll pay for those sidewalks with public funds. And I think you should talk about that a little bit and make sure that you could quash that rumor if that's in fact out there. Next, I just want to also let you know that I am one of the people that you're claiming are lying or misleading people out in the public as we're campaigning. First of all, we are allowed to campaign and talk about what's going on out in the community, put forth our ideas, and draw residents' attention to your ideas and plans for comparison against ours. We think we have better ideas, and we want our candidates elected. That's fair. That's the way this process actually works. It's actually the job of political organizations such as ours to draw attention to issues in the community that could affect them, right? So we not only want to bring it to their attention, but then we want to educate the people on the issue. In that context, we put out a white paper on sidewalks, okay? We took your plan, we looked at it in a large degree, in a lot of detail. So we didn't put out a talking points document. We put out something that would lay your plan out, highlight the issues for the residents, give them something to think about. And at the end of the white paper, quite frankly, we wanted them to say, hey, we like these ideas, or we don't like these ideas. We want the sidewalks, and no matter what it costs or what the issues are to us, which is fine. Again, I've read the plan, and I just wanted to draw your attention to what the plan actually says, and I did bring a copy of it, so if we, want to talk about that. But the plan basically says, you've evaluated the township, you intend to put new sidewalks in areas where there are none currently. And it provides no method of funding anywhere in the document. To be clear, I'm not referring to anything with safe routes to school or anything like that. You never say, if we don't get grants to pay for the new sidewalks, then we're not going to do them. The document just simply doesn't say that. Okay, and actually, you also mentioned, and people may want to know, you're talking about putting sidewalks in township-owned open spaces, which again, sounds very expensive to me, if you're going to install them, maintain them, and that has to be at taxpayer expense.
That's your 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. John, yep.
Hi, I'm Dennis Nguyen, 886 Fulton Avenue, Landsdale. Just real quick, I want to speak out in support of the open space plan. I live in a neighborhood that's been about 25 years, and our neighborhood is just starting to turn over with the original owners to a whole bunch of young families with lots of young kids. And it's just, I think it's exciting. It's another way to attract people to our township. And I think this is something that could have an impact for the next 100 years, as opposed to another township, another high-density townhomes, et cetera. So just, I don't know if condemnation doesn't sound right to me. I don't know, but it doesn't sound right. So let's find a way to make it happen in a fair and equitable way. And I do want to tag on to the sidewalk issue. Just a little disappointed that his house went up on South Broad Street just a couple months ago, and for some reason, there's no sidewalk in front of it. So, that shouldn't happen. I'm sure there's zoning requirements for that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, you in the back. You were next.
She has an order. She said 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm Deborah Worstel. I live at Gosling Drive in North Wales. I just want to say, I moved here in '86. Since then, I bought 3 properties, 2 commercial and 1 residential. My taxes have tripled, and I have not put on any additions or assessments or anything like that. So basically, what I'm saying is we can't afford higher taxes. Whatever we have to do to lower the taxes is the best thing. Also, we're a community that works together. I don't know how long y'all have lived here, but residents of the township built the Parkside playground. And so, and this may not be something popular, but I think if we could keep some of the open space, that would be nice. But I think the homeowner has more rights in this than we do. But if we could bring commercial and not necessarily residential clients that could pay taxes, they wouldn't be using the sewer system like the residents would be. They wouldn't have children in our schools, but it would be a good way to make tax money, which we need greatly. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. There was another, yes, sir, you're next.
Good evening, my name is Neil Minucci. I just learned about this plan. I live on Allentown Road in Upper Gwynedd. I bought an 1.5 acres from my aunt, and I built my own house. My taxes are almost $8,000 a year, but to be fair, most of that doesn't go to Upper Gwynedd, it goes to North Penn School District. I didn't send my kids to North Penn, they went to Catholic school. So I got basically nothing from my tax dollars, and I'm retired now. I'm getting pushed out. Really, it's too expensive to live there. And to spend more money on open land, what good is open land? What does that do? How does that help? Nobody's going to go to that place. It's all full of ticks. The thing's been open all these years. Nobody walks on that land except deer. And there's dead deer out there every day. Well, anyway, from what I hear, what's being proposed is not high-density housing. It's high-density, age-restricted housing. There's a big difference. The difference is this. Every house that gets built in Upper Gwynedd on a half an acre of land has 2.5 kids going to the school. If they pay $5,000 in property taxes and it costs $7,000 per kid to go to North Penn, any house that isn't age restricted is sucking down tax money. And a park isn't going to make money for the township. I saw the plans. I live right down the street. I don't see any reason why I would want to walk up a new sidewalk and go onto that land. I don't see anything being built there. I don't see the point. I certainly don't see the point of spending money for it. It just doesn't make any sense. It's bad use of money. I don't personally want sidewalks in front of my house because that increases your risk of getting robbed. Right now, a person walking in front of my house is a suspicious character. Somebody could sit on the front sidewalk and loiter. There's nothing you can do about it. And I don't want to have, I have 110 feet of frontage. I'm 69 years old. I can't shovel that. And I'm going to maintain that sidewalk so that somebody can walk to this park that, let's face it, nobody's going to go to. There's nothing there, and there's never going to be anything there based on this plan. And the truth of the matter is, we're not preserving land in Upper Gwynedd. That land is a lot closer to Landsdale and Townhomes than probably 3/4 of the residents of Upper Gwynedd. I just found out about it. I don't know why that is, but it makes no sense to me at all. If the guy wants to build age-restricted townhouses, those people are going to pay taxes to Upper Gwynedd. They're going to pay taxes to the school district, and they're not going to be taking anything from us, nothing. And if anybody's affected by the traffic, it would be me. But you know what? I can't leave my house in the morning or in the afternoon anyway. That's just the nature of Allentown Road. It's not going to change anything. They put developments in several times on Allentown Road. It's not the residents. It's the businesses that are creating the traffic. It's all morning and afternoon. And I don't want to see the township spend money on something that is not going to benefit me or anybody else in the town.
Thank you. Back here on this side, I saw, gentlemen. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Mall, and I live at 615 Gage Lane in North Wales. I wanted to speak on a couple topics tonight. Number one, people have mentioned sidewalks, so I would like to speak to that. I didn't intend to this evening. However, there's not a way that I can walk into the township with my 2 young children without having to go for a very long stretch of unsidewalked road on busy streets. Right now, I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old. We've been in the township for about 10 years. There's no safe way for us to walk into the township to spend our money to go to a restaurant because there just aren't sidewalks on North Wales Road or Prospect, or if we cut through Church and come in down that way. Be happy to help finance that or help pay for that if that's the case. But to say it's going to increase traffic and create crime is, in my opinion, I won't speak for other people's personal opinions, somewhat disingenuous. With regard to the open space, I absolutely agree. A homeowner should be able to have fair market value for his property. I also see value in having open space. To say no one would use it, it's not of value. We have the Green Ribbon Trail. We're lucky and fortunate to have the Green Ribbon Trail that goes through North Wales and Upper Gwynedd. Plenty of people use it. Plenty of people walk on it. There's more than just deer and ticks. That's absurd to say that no one would use open space in this area when you have, excuse me, I'm talking. When you have a large percentage of runners and hikers in this community. That's just not the case. The second would be the open records requests that I see bantered about on social media, whether it's from political parties or individuals running for office. Oftentimes, it is the case that people make requests for information to the township and they do a right to know request. You have 5 days to respond, which is almost impossible if you want your township commissioners to be doing the job that they're elected to do. So invariably, every township commission or school board or any other public entity seeks the 20-day exception to compile the documents that they're legally required to do in the diligent manner that they're able to offer. Instead, oftentimes around election time, certain people flood the commissioners or other public officials with a litany of open records requests. And then when they offer, hey, we'll give you the information, we're going to extend the 20 days, that's taken as a sign of not being transparent. That, well, we don't have transparency in our government as a result. That's absurd. And when I hear it from political parties using that as a wedge issue, that's a shame. And when I hear that issues like the open space issue have been going on long before these folks were elected, when other parties were in office, to use this as a political wedge issue is a shame and disingenuous. Good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, the lady, yes.
Hi, my name is Linda Smith. I live at 815 McIntosh Way. I wasn't really planning on saying anything tonight, but I would like to just speak from my heart. Mr. Martin I understand this is a personal issue for him. And my husband grew up on a farm in Massachusetts, and it's a home and a homestead, 200 years of memories. And I know how my in-laws would feel if someone would come and just take their property. Being in the Berkshires of Massachusetts, probably not going to happen, but it is something very personal. And I would just hope that you would understand that as commissioners. I know that park is something that you've been planning for and really excited about, but I feel that the way that it's been done has been to wrong Mr. Martin. And that makes me very upset because I've lived in this community. My husband and I moved in our 20s, so we've been here, 25 years. And something like this, I've never remember happening. And I'm just being brought into this and being aware of it. And I just hope you would consider this. This is his home. He's offered you a part of the property. He wants to preserve his family history. He's done so much for the community. And I just would hope that you would remember that in your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. The lady right in the, yes. And then we'll go with the gentleman next to you with the hat on.
Hi, my name is Karen Sinelli, and I would like to say that I
Your
will,
address, please. We need your address, and if you could come closer to the microphone.
Elbow Lane.
Elbow Lane, okay.
I would like to say that I would back 100% Mr. Martin as well as Mr. Hatfield's comments. That I agree that the township taking someone's property under eminent domain is an egregious misuse of the township's authority. I don't want somebody taking my property, and I don't understand why the township can't work with Mr. Martin if he's willing to donate a portion of his property for use for a park. Why you can't do that if it's not going to cost the township anything? If the man is offering up a portion of his property, why can't there be some agreement from the township to utilize this man's property for the benefit of all? Why does it have to be all or nothing? There has to be such a thing in this world as compromise. And I have not seen that in a very long time. And it's something I would like to see more of. It can't be my ideas or your ideas, and if we disagree, then you must be wrong. There has to be compromise. And I also agree with the comments that Mr. Hatfield made about the sidewalks. I've seen commentary from someone here, sitting here tonight, with my own two eyes, that was not very flattering. And it didn't make me dislike the Republicans, it made me dislike the person who wrote the email. I think very little of the person who wrote the email. Because as a politician, you should be able to speak up for all without belittling your neighbor, your friend, your competition. I don't want sidewalks in my neighborhood. I don't want to shovel those sidewalks. There are a lot of very older people in my neighborhood. There are people who could not afford sidewalks, and there are people who can't afford to pay somebody to shovel their sidewalks. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Gentleman with the hat.
Hi, my name is Dennis Sinelli. I'm also on Elbow Lane. I'm here to speak out in opposition of the development of the Martin Tract. I wanted to briefly quote an article from the Patch that is very recent, and it's titled, "That's How We Lose a Township." And it talks about at the corner of 152, where we just had the tornadoes go through and tore up those woods there. The owner of 15 acres there decided this would be a good time to clear cut the land. All the neighbors saw it being clear cut and said, "Oh my God, he's going to develop it." So they went to the township and they said, "Is there anything you can do to keep this man from developing his property?" And I'd like to quote, if I can pull it up here, the section of the article called Eminent Domain. I believe Mr. Leonard is the head down there in Upper Dublin, Township Manager. Leonard conceded that the property is listed in the township's open space plan as vulnerable, but he reiterated that it's not currently up for sale, so there is very little the township can do. When asked about the potential for eminent domain, Leonard said, "The government taking private property is always an extreme last resort." Quote, "That's an egregious use of township authority," Leonard said of eminent domain, which is often a touchy subject among citizens. Briefly, over the last few days, I've walked around our neighborhood with a petition. Everyone whose door I knocked on signed the petition. I have a lot of names. You may be familiar with me from the last time.
With the Sweetbriar Basin, and you made that photo album for us. Yes, I
Correct.
remember.
Correct. Do you want to repeat of the basin?
Just to clarify, the petition is for Mr. Martin's
For
land, not the
Mr. Martin
sidewalks.
This
Okay.
time,
Okay.
it was about the basins before. But if you'd like 90 people here with pitchforks and torches, like we had last time, that's what you're looking at. So thank you very much for your time and your consideration. Have a great night.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, come on up.
Good evening, Michelle Roop, Park Road. With all due respect to Mr. Martin, I'm gonna change. So tonight, really what I wanted to talk about is that I understand you're gonna be voting on a contract to provide medical care for the two canines, Gunner and Fury. So first, I'd like to talk a little bit about why we've purchased two canines for policing in Upper Gwynedd Township. I recently filed a right-to-know request for the crime statistics to support the purchase of any canine, and I was provided a response that we don't have statistics to support the purchase of those canines. I also looked on the police department's website. I found a few sort of blotter-type stories, but I didn't really find an official report that told me anything about the number of narcotics-related offenses or explosives-related offenses in the township. So according to the documents that I've received, we've spent approximately $19,500 for 2 canines. And I'm curious about the statistics behind supporting that. So I do understand that that money is discretionary spending, so the police departments can utilize those funds as they see fit. My question is it possible that maybe 1 dog would have been enough? And could we maybe have used some of those other funds for some other community outreach programs? Canine officers are a very specialized and important tool to utilize within policing, and I'm certainly not making light of the use of canines. In my career, I'm a veterinarian, for those of you that don't know. I've treated canine officers and worked very closely with their handlers to get them back to service as soon as practicable. In fact, yesterday I was offered a position as Director of Rehabilitation for a veterinary practice in South Jersey. Part of my responsibility will be general medical care, exercise programs, and rehabilitation services for the many canine officers that our practice will support. It's because of this skill set and background that I ask the next series of questions. According to the purchase agreement for Canine Fury, he's been identified as having a transitional vertebrae. This is a vertebrae that exhibits characteristics of segmental vertebrae and an adjacent vertebrae. Basically, the lumbar vertebrae and the sacral vertebrae in this case, and that transitional vertebrae can't decide which it wants to be, so it doesn't quite sit right where it belongs. Dogs with lumbar transitional vertebrae have a higher frequency of hip dysplasia, and they can develop lumbar stenosis over time, which in extreme cases can result in paralysis of the hind legs. This is not ideal for a working dog. A colleague of mine who is a board-certified sports medicine veterinarian, I consulted with her recently on this issue and asked her opinion. She's worked with a number of working dogs, particularly military dogs, that have had a transitional vertebrae. Those dogs retire at about 5 years of age. And in discussion with her, the dogs that she has worked with, military dogs with transitional vertebrae, were showing signs of issues related to that transitional vertebrae at 5 years of age. A typical police working dog works until about 8 to 9 years of age. So my concern is that we have a dog that we have purchased that could very well begin to show signs at 5 years of age, 3 to 4 years prior to when we would want to retire that dog. So I'm questioning the decision to purchase that. So my next question is, has anyone determined if the contracted veterinary practice has a veterinarian who is certified in rehabilitative medicine? Do they have the ability to assess the canines on a regular basis to identify subtle lamenesses or injuries that could impact their ability to work? General practice veterinarians are fabulous at what they do, but there's specialized training within the profession. Care of these dogs should be provided by someone with advanced training and experience treating these types of issues. One thing that I just wanted to mention, and I will follow up with Chief Duffy about this. I was at the Fall Fest this weekend, and I saw a dog walk by, was with an officer. He was far enough away that I couldn't read the insignia on his uniform, so I didn't know for sure if it was our dog or not. But when I was leaving, I happened to pass them, and I saw the dog's collar, and it was Fury. I will tell you that when I saw that dog walking across the street, the dog is lame currently. So I really think we need to look at this, and we need to follow up on this, because I care about the welfare of the dog as much as I care about the money that the township is spending on it, and I also care about the job that he's here to do. So we really do need to pay attention to that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, I just do want to follow up. Sorry, I haven't said anything about the other things, but I offered you a meeting with the chief, and I just want to reiterate that.
Yes.
And I'm sure the chief has some comments he'd like to respond to.
And I'm happy to meet with him. I just wanted to see the statistics.
Yeah, just so you know, when we respond to an open records request and we say there's no record, that means there's not a paper. That doesn't mean that there's no statistics. We have tons of crime statistics.
Sure.
It's just we can't generate a record if there is none. Sure. Chief Duffy, I'm sure you could report to the group that Fury sees medical professionals every day. He's still currently in training with Penn Vet, which is one of the top leading canine veterinarian training centers. And so I think that if Fury was currently lame, they might have pointed that out to us since he's still being seen every day. But the chief could talk to you more about that.
Thank you.
And also, we will not put a lame service animal on the street.
No.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No? No public comments, or you had yours, 5 minutes?
Yeah, is there
Were
anyone?
there
on
any
the-
call-ins this evening? No, nobody to call in with questions? Anybody else? Okay, so with that, we will close the public comment section for tonight. It's over, and we'll make our comments.
Can you move the mic?
Yeah. And we'll make our comments now in response to a lot of your questions that you asked tonight. I'll start with the sidewalk issue, and then I'll turn it over to Commissioner Hull.
Okay.
The comprehensive plan is just a planning document. It is something that townships do as a vision. And they're supposed to be done according to the county and other resources every 10 years. So this is a 2040 plan. And I can say, and I'm looking at all of you and I'm on video now, we will not be requiring anybody to install sidewalks. The only people will be new developments. It's just not going, it's not something we're going to do. And I'm on record saying this. The comp plan was put together not by this board. 3 members of this board weren't even on the board when we started it. It was a group effort of 21 residents. It was 3 years in the making. It was surveys. It was open houses. It was a long, long process. 2-3 meetings a month sometimes. And nobody will make anybody install sidewalks. I don't want to shovel sidewalks either. I don't want to maintain them. We wouldn't do that to anybody. You have my word on that. Just don't think, the only places where we even thought about sidewalks, and I said this last meeting, was maybe places like North Wales Road, heading into the borough from Clover. If you go up the hill and you're walking, there is a section there. They were really the areas that the committee focused on. And how that was the county planner actually asked us, gave us homework, and said, look around your community and see where there's sidewalks where maybe you think would be. So a lot of those feedbacks came from residents saying, hey, I noticed no sidewalks here or there. There's no sidewalks there. We're not going to require them there. It's not going to happen. On Sumneytown Pike, heading up by Corpus Christi on the opposite side, there's the little bridge that's there. There's no sidewalk. It just ends. Maybe that would be a good place so people could walk safely to and from the high school, to the shopping center that's there. But we will never require sidewalks and make you pay for them. We wouldn't do that. You have my word, all of our words for that. The township, we wouldn't do it. So with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Hull. Public comment is over. I'll just remind you, sir, that Denise Hull and I have office hours for the public. We're here from 1 to 3 tomorrow. And if you'd like to schedule something else to talk to me, I'd be happy to do that.
Of course.
We absolutely will do that.
course.
That's what we're here for, so thank you.
Just stay afterwards so that we can get your information and we can reach out to you and we'll set up a date this week, okay? Okay, so I just want to respond to a couple points before I turn it over to our township manager, Sandra. First off, we are going to continue to work with the Martin family on a compromise. We have been speaking to the Martin family the whole time. We have never stopped talking to them. They were talking to him before we came on the board. When I first was appointed to the board, and then, like I said, we're continuing to. So that is something that is going to be continuing to be ongoing. We recently met with Mr. Martin at the beginning of October, and we said that we were talking about it and that we would talk about a possible compromise. So the lines of communication are still open. Another point that I wanted to make is that with condemnation, when you take the land, you don't take the land, meaning you don't walk into someone's house and say, now that land is mine. You don't take it. There's a whole legal process. And what happens is that we are required to legally get an appraisal to find out what the fair market value of the property is. And we've done that. And that fair market value is $2.9 million. Now, we are required by law, because we are not private business owners who can't negotiate, we're not allowed to do that. So in order to give him the best possible rate, we're going to have another appraisal so that we can give him the best fair market value that is there. We have only treated him with equity. We have only treated him with fairness. That has not even been a concern. Mr. Martin has discussed high-density townhomes, 120 units plus. That's double the density allowed in Upper Gwynedd Township. If he was to build 60 townhomes, that would be at the max density on Allentown Road, a 2-lane road, which is already, if you've driven on Allentown Road, very, very busy. Back in 2005, there was a township open space plan. And in that plan, it earmarked this property for open space. And then, so that was back in 2005. Then, with our new comprehensive plan, which we just finished working out with the county for 3 years, what they did is they took that a little further. They said, how about a recreational plan to meet the needs, further meet the needs of the community? However, that recreational plan is very sparse, and it is something that would be developed and worked on, and that would be a whole nother project down the road. I am going to turn it over now to our township manager, who's going to talk about some financial questions that have come up over this last week. If you have any further questions, if you felt like you didn't get to say what you wanted to say tonight, please reach out to any of the commissioners, but especially reach out to our township manager, Sandra. Call her this week. She would love to talk to you, and she would love to discuss this further.
So the board has asked me to talk to you guys about the talks that have been happening about the use of tax dollars for this property. Some of the questions tonight focused on how we would fund purchasing this property. Commissioner Holt just talked about the cost, the fair market value of the property. So there's a couple things that I've been asked to talk about. The first is the Board of Commissioners has no plan to raise taxes in order to finance anything to do with this property. There's just no need to do that right now in Upper Gwynedd Township. The funding for this property acquisition could come from many sources, as I've said in meetings previously. It hasn't exactly been finalized yet, since we're still talking with Mr. Martin and working out the details. We really don't know that the board's going to move to condemn the property, so I don't have an exact plan yet of exactly how we're going to pay for it, because I don't know exactly what we're buying yet. But what I do know is that if we were to move forward with condemnation, is that there's several different sources of how we can pay for it. The first is which is money that we have in reserve that was collected from developers specifically for the use of open space acquisition. So when developers come into the township and they develop a parcel and there's no room for open space on that parcel, they have to pay us a fee in lieu of open space. When they pay us that fee, we put it in reserve, and those fees can only be used for open space uses, such as like trails or doing things in our parks in open space areas. So that's one way. We have a little over $200,000 in that fund. We can also use our township reserve funds, which the Governor Finance Officers Association recommends a minimum of 3 months of expenses in township reserve funds. Could you please pull up the PDF? This is a chart that shows the township's reserve funds as they stand right now in our proposed 2022 budget. And it shows the reserve funds going back to 2018. So in 2018, those numbers are actuals. We had a reserve fund of $9.9 million approximately. 2019, it was 10.8. 2020, 12.9. As you can see, this reserve fund is growing. In 2021, our forecast is 13.1, and our budgeted forecast for 2022 is 13.5. So there is no fear that our township reserves would have any issue. If we had to pay all cash of that 2.9 number from the reserves, 2.9 minus 13.5, we wouldn't dip lower than the 9.9 that we had in 2018. So it would not affect our township's bond rating, as was suggested earlier. Additionally, we could finance the purchase. In 2020, we refinanced some of the township's debt. Our previous debt, it was a note from 2016. It was a loan, it wasn't a bond. It was 2.32% finance rate. We refinanced it for the same term at 1.14%, saving us quite a bit of money. The township's non-electoral borrowing base is $53 million and some change. We currently have a total debt of $9.9 million. There's a lot of space there for us to continue to borrow funds. We have plenty of space for additional safe, prudent, healthy debt acquisition, which would fairly distribute any planned expenditures across the years, creating a plan that would not require tax increases due to any new debt acquisition. I want to touch on the issue of rainy day funds. That's been brought up a few times. We just went through a worldwide pandemic and a huge catastrophic flood at our wastewater treatment plant, which anyone that comes to our meetings hears me talk about this all the time. We had a $3 million loss at our wastewater treatment plant, which luckily mostly was covered by insurance. Due to prudent financial planning, we were able to weather those storms, and our rainy day fund, which is right here for you all to see, stands just as stable as ever before. I want to point out that this chart is something that you can see. Last year, I did a budget presentation in November. I'll be doing one again this year in November. I hope you all come back for the meeting. If you ever hear me talk in meetings, I love when the room is full of residents. I want to talk to you about what we do with the budget. I'm very proud of the work we do as staff to keep the finances in this town going strong. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We have the largest employer in Montgomery County in our township. You all know we have Merck here, and their investments in this community helps keep our finances strong. It really helps us be able to finance all these types of projects. And lastly, something you might not know, something new that we've done this year, is we rolled out a new 5-year capital plan. This is something that the township hadn't done previously. This is something I'm really proud of. The staff worked really hard. The 5-year plan involves a $25 million expenditure plan with no proposed tax increase to fund any of the planned expenditures. The plan includes 143 important projects across all township departments, including our fire department. On top of that, over the past few years, we've completed numerous large projects which had very large budgets. We just cut the ribbon on our wastewater treatment plant expansion, which was a $17 million project. We have a $1.2 million project in place to replace the Sumneytown Pike Bridge, funded all but 30% of it through grant funds. We have 2 trail feasibility studies currently in progress, both grant funded. We just completed the award-winning MS4 project with Wissahickon Trails, Merck, PICO, and other public-private partners. We've paved your roadways. We've completed stormwater infrastructure projects. We've increased our policing in the community by we hired an additional police officer, and more. I mean, I can't really talk more about what we do in this township, and we've done that all without raising your tax dollars. I can't remember which one of you commented, I think it was you, sir, in the front, about how your tax dollars are high. That may be true. We all pay the largest portion of our tax dollars to the school districts, and I'm not blaming them. They have a lot more to pay for than we do. But your rates here in Upper Gwynedd are relatively low for the services you receive. And nothing that we do with any one project, whether it be an open space plan, a recreation plan, a police officer, a K-9 unit, anything, one project is not going to tank your tax dollars. We're going to manage your tax dollars in a really good way. That's really my promise to you as a township manager. That's all I have to say about that.
And before we move on in our agenda, one last thing. Mr. Martin, We are waiting, no, I'm sorry. We are waiting for, we're waiting for your attorney to get back to us. We sent him a bunch of possible dates and times to meet. So we're just waiting for him to respond to that.
Since you raised the issue and I've spoken to my issue with the land, do I have a chance to respond now?
We closed public comments.
I wouldn't say it's public comment, it's response to completely.
We'll be here tomorrow from 1 to 3, and we'll be here at the Township Building from 1 to 3.
People come to this room to particularly discuss and witness your handling of this particular item. So I think you're excluding them. Can we all come, should we all move into your office?
Mr. Martin, we are not taking any action on this tonight. We're not voting on anything. Our statements that we've made this evening have come from emails and different correspondences that we've had and that the previous board and the previous manager have had over the years with you. So all of what Commissioner Hall said. Mr. Martin, we will wait to hear and we'll meet again and we'll continue to talk with you, Mr. Martin. We promised you that.
Between lawyers, it really didn't involve me, and I don't know why I was even there because I thought it was going to be a dialogue. I was prepared for that dialogue. It was just two lawyers talking. So I really feel that you're going to have a meeting. The best thing you can do is remove condemnation from the table. You're hanging it over my head. I can't even consult with a developer to give you the sketches you would probably want. I can't do that because no one will deal with me, and that's been 1 year now. You put me in limbo.
Mr. Martin, we're not making any decisions. We want to meet with you, like we said. We want to talk with you.
Does that mean you will talk with me this time?
Yes.
No one spoke in the last meeting.
Because you wanted to come, Mr. Martin, you wanted to come to talk to us.
And actually try to move this forward.
Mr. Martin, you wanted to talk to us. We opened up the office here. You came in. We listened to you. We did what you wanted us to do, Mr. Martin.
You didn't at all. You're misrepresenting this entirely. We wanted a dialogue. You know we came in even with drawings, which then proved to be wasted because you took off the table anything age-related. So I just don't know how to deal with you on a civil manner as equal. You're treating me as someone who now has to beg you to get my own land. You haven't condemned, but you've done a de facto condemnation. Taken my land without taking it. Left me in limbo for a year. That is not fair. That is not transparent, and that is not trust building. And you've had no dialogue with me. You've only sicked your lawyers on me. I quite frankly, I wrote you back in April, a polite, well-reasoned letter. And I asked you to respond. And instead you said, I'm reading this township manager, we defer communication to our attorney. There's no transparency, trust building, just attorneys. This is the point we've arrived at, and we never should have arrived here at all. We sat down with after a simple phone to actually pick up the dialogue that we initiated 4 years ago, before condemnation was threatened. In fact, at that time, the appraisal that one of your fellow commissioners made was $6 million on the land. I think it's probably appreciated since then. So I hope you will have a productive conversation.
Mr. Martin, we will, as we said we would, we've given you our word that we will continue this conversation.
Mr. Martin, the public comment period has been closed. The public comment has been closed by the board. So Mr. Martin, if you can let me finish, if you want to set up an appointment with the commissioners, they have office hours tomorrow, or they're happy to schedule a time with you. We are waiting to meet with your attorney to discuss potential concept plans, and that's fine. But the time for public comment has concluded this evening. Mr. Martin, the time for public comment has been concluded this evening.
Okay, with that, we will be moving on. Public comment is closed for this evening. We're going to be moving on.
Everyone had the opportunity. Everyone had the opportunity to speak at public comment. Ms. McNaney gave everyone the opportunity to speak, and
Everybody should walk out like I am.
He's represented by counsel, they're not allowed to speak. It's quote as a joke.
Want a break? You guys want a break? All right.
fine.
Are you okay, or do you want to say?
I'll need a break. Let's get this over.
All right, we'll give everybody a minute if they want to go, and we'll look forward to hearing from Mr. Martin soon to continue this negotiations and talks. Okay, so with that, let's get back on track with our public hearing.
Chief, can you close the doors?
Just wait till they close.
Yeah.
Ask for civility, please. I think you need to ask for civility in the audience. They're turning on each other. Ask for civility.
We'd like to ask for civility in the audience, please, right now, as we continue with this public meeting. Next item on the agenda, we will close the public meeting and start with a public hearing. The purpose of this hearing is amending the code of the Upper Gwynedd Township. Of amending the code of Upper Gwynedd Township at Chapter 155, Sewers, Section 71, General Sewer Requirements. I'll turn it over to Solicitor Gallagher.
Thank you, President McNaney. There are two exhibits this evening. The first is going to be T1, which is a copy of Ordinance 2021-05. And Exhibit T2 is a proof of publication of the legal advertisement for this ordinance, which was ran on October 7th, 2021. The ordinance is relatively straightforward and amends certain requirements of the pretreatment standards for sewage that is entering the system, specifically COD, color, residual chlorine, and the total amount of iron. This is consistent with the parameters that have been being enforced, particularly with our large industrial users, and this has been done in consultation with the township's wastewater engineer. And everything is in the form that is appropriate for adoption this evening.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this issue? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and ask for approval. Do we have a motion to approve ordinance number 2021-05, the pretreatment regulations?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any additional board comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. Next on the agenda is item number 10, motion to approve the consent items A through I. We've all had time to review these. And I'd just like to point out, since we have so many new faces here in our audience tonight, if you're at home and you want to look at our agenda, if you click on one of those items, let's have her pull back up. Anything that's highlighted in blue, you'll click it on and you'll get all of the, you will get all the information, background information about what we're approving tonight. There's also reports from the different departments and payments that we're making. If you could click on Public Works, that's a good one. And it lists here from our department head, Willard Troxel, the items that they've been working on throughout. And you can see we had a graffiti issue on some streets and signs throughout the township, and our Public Works Department worked to clean that up. So these are the types of things, additional information that we've made available to residents to keep them informed on what's going on here in Upper Gwynedd. So with that, do we have a motion to approve these consent items A through I?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any additional public comment about any of these items? Any additional board comment? Deanna, we'll need a roll call vote.
President McNaney?
Aye.
Vice President Hall?
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo? Aye. Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker?
Aye.
Thank you, Deanna. The ayes so have it. Next on the agenda is the approval of Resolution 33, 2021. Megan, could you click that one on too? And again, this is all the information that the board has gone through at our workshop meetings, which is usually the week before these public meetings, is where we discuss what's on these agendas. We discuss this, we gather more information. And it's all there, and the impact that it will have on our budget. So this information is there. So with that, do we have a motion to approve Resolution 33, 2021?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Do we have any public comment on this item? Hearing none. Any additional board comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. Next item on the agenda is item number 12, which is to approve our finance administrative assistant access to the Berkheimer tax information. We feel this is necessary for her to be able to get to that information, be able to access it with our finance director, Dave Brill. She works with him, so we'll be giving her access to that information. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any public comment on this? Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it. And last, under my section, is the announcement of our budget work sessions. This would include some of the information you heard tonight from Sandra about how, as of right now, there is absolutely no proposed tax increase for 2022. We still have 2 meetings left, but we don't foresee any tax increase for 2022. So those 2 meetings are this Thursday at 1 o'clock, and then the following week at 1 o'clock, and they are held in this public meeting room, and all are welcome to come. Our first meeting, we had 1 resident at our first budget meeting last week, so you're welcome to come to that. So with that, I will next turn the meeting over to Commissioner Hull.
Thank you. So for this motion, we had an applicant who submitted a permit to construct an in-ground pool. And when you submit that permit, a grading plan is also required. So that was approved. And during that review, our township engineer said that they needed a stormwater facility. So this is the plan that will manage that stormwater facility. So I would like to make a motion to approve the Stormwater Best Management Practices Operations and Maintenance Agreement for 447 Amity Lane.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment on this? Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. Next item on the agenda is item number 15, where I'll turn it over to Commissioner Carter.
Good evening. Yes, we have a motion to approve the contract with Telford Veterinary Hospital with the care of canines Gunner and Fury in the amount of $2,161 per dog annually to be paid by public donations.
So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment? Any additional board comment?
Just a reminder for all those in the audience, with all the questions that came up about Fury and Gunner tonight, that if you do click on that when you're home, or Megan, click on it, it does review all of the background information, and it details all of what the memo of understanding with Telford Veterinary Hospital and what they're going to do and their scope of work.
I'm sorry.
Of the hospital?
Telford?
Telford. If you, I think it's at the,
At Telford Veterinary Hospital?
I would assume it's in Telford.
Yeah. Do we have an address for that?
look it up.
Chief Duffy?
He's
Yep,
looking it
Chief
up right
Duffy
now.
will look that up. It didn't say, Megan, scroll down a little.
I think there was a.
Yeah, I think I saw it too. Yeah, keep scrolling. There.
There it is.
78 Souderton.
Oh, it's in
78 Souderton.
Yep. All right, that was our any other public
Dr.
comments?
Detweiler.
Yeah. Any other public comments on that? Did we approve all that and say yes and no? No, we didn't make a motion. Commissioner Carter has made a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second, and we had our public comment. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Next on the agenda, Commissioner Damsker.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I am thrilled that I hope some of you are here this evening, were able to attend our Carnival Fall Festival over last weekend. And it was delightful. The kids all had a fantastic time, and it was, and we even get lots of people from all the other surrounding townships, you know, that, because it's been such a success. And I would just like to take, and please be patient, I wanted to thank all the businesses and all the various different supporters that helped us to make this possible. So be prepared. There's a lot of people, which really is very rewarding for us, that the community is, that we work together in order to be able to provide this incredible, every year, this carnival. So I had the Skelly's Amusements, International Fireworks, Clemens Food Group, Cargo Trailer Sales, Republic Services, Lehigh Valley Dairy Farms, George Allen Wastewater Management, Volunteer Medical Service Corps, the West Point Deli, Weiss Market, Rental World, Geiger Company, Rock Hill Designs, the Upper Gwynedd Fire Department and Fire Police, Upper Gwynedd Park and Recreation Advisory Board. Want to thank those individuals who volunteered. And Upper Gwynedd Park and Rec and Public Works Department, Upper Gwynedd Police Department, Upper Gwynedd Board of Commissioners, Township Administration Staff, North Penn Fire Company and Fire Police, the Norgwin Baseball, Wister's Barbecue, and Boston Style Pizza. And then there was the Sausage Crew, John, Justin, Jane, Janelle, JR, and others. Boy Scout Troop, which did a great job, 152. All Ticket Booth Wristband Volunteers, Merck and Company, KJ Doors, TD Bank, ColorCon, Univest Banking, Insurance and Investments, WB Homes, E. Van Ricker, and Wawa, the Code Inspectors, Inc., the Environmental Engineer and Management Associates, Traditional Sign Company, and also I want to thank all of our bronze sponsors. And anyone or that I missed, I apologize. We appreciate everything that you've done to make our carnival successful. Okay, then 17, I would like to make a motion to approve the storage tank removal bid to TTI Environmental, Inc. in the amount of $240,197.89.
So we have a motion. Is that a roll call? I don't have a roll call on my form. Is that a roll call?
Doesn't need to.
No, it does
Okay.
not need to be
I
roll
see it
call.
up there.
Yeah, right.
So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment? Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it.
And lastly, I have a motion to approve Resolution 36-2021, authorizing the township manager to execute the intergovernmental agreement between Upper Gwynedd Township and Landsdale for MS4 credits relating to the stream bank restoration at White's Road Park.
So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment on this? Any additional board comment?
I'd like to make a comment about the carnival thank yous, just to let everybody know that it was the first time that the commissioners had their Sundays, and we were able to raise a little over $1,000, enable us to give a donation to the K-9 unit and also to the upgrades and restoration of the Castle Park.
It was a lot of ice cream we scooped over 3 days. We had a motion, we had a second, we had no public comment, we had board comment. So all in favor of approving item number 18?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes so have it. Next on the agenda, Commissioner Similaro, and we'll just
nothing.
scroll right by you this evening.
For a change, we're not talking about trying to fix something at the wastewater
Yeah,
treatment
we
plant.
got
I'm
that
thrilled.
all covered. So moving on to item number 19, other business, motion to approve the October 2021 open invoices. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
To approve, I should say. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a second. Any public comment? Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor, all over to Deanna for roll, and I even have it highlighted in yellow.
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
The ayes so have it. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve the October 2021 paid invoices. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second. Any public comment? Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor, all over to Deanna?
Cool.
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro. Aye. Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
The ayes so have it. Thank you, Deanna. Board members, anything else before we adjourn? No?
I'm sorry that Mr. Martin isn't here still, because I know that most of the people left, but I just want to make it very clear that Mr. Martin has come to the last couple meetings and has requested a meeting and said that we hadn't been treating him very fairly. So we did set up a meeting, which I attended, and I listened for 45 minutes of Mr. Martin speaking. It was not always his attorney. And we really went to that meeting, and all of us went there in good faith to listen, because he's a resident just like anybody else, and he has the right to be heard. And he was heard. And we are going to continue to work with him and to ensure that it's the process of whatever is decided will be done appropriately and legally and correctly, and it will benefit the entire community, because there are people who didn't come today, who we heard from, who didn't want 120 highest density in the entire township of housing development put there. So it's not all one-sided. And that's why we're here, because we're here to hear both sides, and then we are making every effort to do it in the proper legal way. And we are listening to our residents. And please feel free, because Sandra is really terrific, and she can answer the questions, any questions that you may have. And if you would spread to your neighbors that we are here in good faith to do what is right and correct for our township. So we appreciate your input, but I just wanted you to know that we did act in good faith. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Damsker. And with that, meeting adjourned.